Is your public library ready for Public Act 103-0100 when it goes into effect January 1st, 2024? This act, formerly known as House Bill 2789, also known as the Anti-Book Banning Bill, requires your library to be in compliance with the law before receiving any state funding, including the annual Per Capita Grant. This short video will help ensure that your public library is in accordance with the law. What the law states. This new law will require each Illinois library that receives state grants to establish an anti-censorship policy. Specifically, it says that those libraries will only be eligible for state grants if they either adopt the American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights or develop a written statement prohibiting the practice of banning books or other materials within the library or library system. So what will the Illinois State Library require? When submitting your library's per capita grant or applying for any other library-specific grant from the Illinois State Library, you must provide written certification of one of two things: that your library has adopted the American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights that indicates materials should not be proscribed or removed because of partisan or doctrinal disapproval, or, in the alternative, your library is providing a written policy or procedure approved and in force at the applicant library, declaring the inherent authority of the library or library system to provide an adequate collection of books and other materials sufficient in size and varied in kind and subject matter to satisfy the library needs of students or patrons served, and prohibit the practice of banning specific books or resources. So when you're submitting, your library only needs one or the other. So if your library has adopted the American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights, this statement is acceptable and meets the requirement on its own. Conversely, if your library does not have the American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights adopted, you can provide a written policy or procedure approved or enforced at the applicant library, and that statement or policy is acceptable on its own. I do want to take a moment to point out the language that the state uses with this requirement, that your library is providing a written policy or procedure. So that means that if you have not adopted the Library Bill of Rights and you have your own separate policy at your library, you will need to provide a physical copy of this policy or procedure when you are transmitting your grant application and certification for review. In addition, when you're signing the certification page, you also certify that at the request of the state librarian, the library or agency agrees to provide the Illinois State Library with any final decision for reconsideration of library materials during the term of the grant award. So quick check, is your library compliant? Has your library formally adopted the ALA Library Bill of Rights? Yes, congratulations! You are in compliance with Public Act 103-0100, and your public library does not need to take any more steps to be compliant with the law. If your library has not formally adopted the American Library Association Library Bill of Rights, you have until January 30th, the due date of the per capita grant, to adopt this statement, or your library can craft and adopt a written collection policy or procedure that meets the requirements. So, quick check, is your library compliant? Does your library have a written collection policy or procedure with these components? That it declares the inherent authority of the library or library system to provide an adequate collection of books and other materials sufficient in size and varied in kind and subject matter to satisfy the library needs of students or patrons served, and prohibits the practice of banning specific books or resources. If the answer is yes, congratulations, you are in compliance with the law. Make sure that if this is what your library has and has not adopted the ALA Library Bill of Rights statement, that you provide a copy of this written policy or procedure to the state library with your grant application. If the answer is no and you do not have a separate policy, you have until January 30th, the due date of the Per Capita Grant, to formally approve a policy or adopt a procedure, or your library can just formally adopt the ALA Library Bill of Rights statement. So remember, your library only needs to adopt one or the other to be compliant with the new law. If you have any questions, Illinois Heartland is here to help. So if you need more specific assistance or if anything is still unclear, please contact one of our membership staff members. The public library liaison is Anna Yackel, and Ellen Poppet is an associate director and in charge of membership for all library types. Anyone on the membership team or IHLS is here to help you navigate as we all ensure that your library is in compliance with this new law. Thank you.